Hi again, and welcome to today's top story. We're really happy to be talking to Krista Bisayo from the NORDIK research. She's an actual research lead with the NORDIK agency here in Sault Ste. Marie to talk about urban Indigenous youth for change is what she is focused on. Krista, first of all, how long have you been with the urban Indigenous youth for change?
That's a really interesting question because when I first graduated university, I was with UIYFC, Urban Indigenous Youth for Change, for a full year internship. And then I kind of evolved and moved on to other stuff, and in that position I was an intern. And then I recently came back as project lead, so I've kind of been in and out for the last about 3 years. So,
what's the main focus of it?
The main focus of Urban Indigenous Youth for Change, from my perspective, is engaging young people, Indigenous young people, with some opportunities to get involved with the social economy, to diversify the economy in the north, but as well as cultural revitalization and getting Indigenous young people, particularly urban Indigenous young people, connected to opportunities to kind of see who they are in the world and in terms of like Anishinaabe practice and being and all of those things.
Now, did the need, was it determined through the fact that so many, you mentioned urban and rural, so many of the Indigenous youth are so isolated now.
Yeah, particularly in the north, in the Sioux and surrounding area, there aren't as many opportunities and agencies to get connected into some of these opportunities as they are, say, in the more southern areas. So this was a need that was actually identified by a couple just conversations that urban Indigenous youth were having 3 or 4 years ago. So that kind of designed the project, and then serendipitously we're connected to funding opportunities. So it put the opportunity to create some of these changes into the hands of young people. So it's really interesting. It's for youth by youth, I would say, which is
it's so awesome, right? Because who knows better?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What has been a big barrier for you on a personal level with regards to your career and advancing yourself?
A barrier for me, I would say, is I want to bring it back to that concept of not having the same amount of opportunities as some other people do, or I guess some other locations like in the south. I mean, in Toronto the opportunities are endless, so it's been really a challenge, but also an interesting one to try and connect myself into some of those opportunities and then create like opportunities that are very specific to this region. So it's I guess both a blessing and a bit of a curse.
You know what though, it's getting back to the fact that the experience firsthand. It's such a wonderful opportunity for you to understand people who come to you and say, man, I know for sure if I was in Toronto, for instance.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so frustrating.
It is frustrating. And even I've had the opportunity to work with youth even farther north who see the Sioux as pretty south.
Yes.
And the Sioux having lots of opportunities. So it is just a lot of interesting conversations.
Definitely. What are they telling you is the biggest barrier? Is it their isolation? Is it a language thing?
Isolation is a really big thing, and taking it to language, a lot of young people are struggling to learn their Indigenous languages, or not struggling, but just trying to find the right resources for it. Even I don't know it. So it's an interesting, and I guess that's a challenge, I would say as well. It's difficult to try and find those opportunities in the times that the young people want to start learning.
And it's so important to the heritage.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, the elders talk about it all the time, how important it is for you young folk to learn it and remember it and then pass it along.
Exactly, it's crucial to culture.
Now, you've also been elected to a board of national levels, the Canadian Community Economic Development Network. So tell me about that.
Okay, so my formal degree is in community economic and social development, and underpinning all of these programs and opportunities that I've been connected into is a desire to, diversify the economy, particularly in the north. So when this opportunity came along, it was through just kind of colleagues that I got connected in, essentially. So I just kind of shot my shot, and I made it, which is really, really, really exciting. SEDNet, the Community Economic, SEDNet is a really amazing, national organization that supports people in, energizing economies in like place-based ways throughout Canada. So the first couple conversations I've had with the group, I've heard words like innovation and social enterprise, which are all really, really energizing for me. Particularly when it's not a one thing fits all kind of instance, when it's, communities coming up with their own solutions to economic challenges. It's really fascinating to me, and I'm really excited to bring the Sault Ste. Marie kind of Algoma perspective to that.
It must be wonderful to hear ideas from all over the country.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. It's really, really beautiful, because a lot of it is stuff that, I don't necessarily know the context for. I just know that it's innovative, and it's really, really amazing. So.
And it's so important to focus on innovation at this point when you feel isolated. Where did you get your ambition to get past all of that? Do you find your post-secondary helped you do that?
Yeah, definitely the post-secondary, the Community Economic and Social Development program at Algoma University was really interesting to me because it's the only one of its kind in Ontario, certainly, maybe all of Canada. So it's basically rooted in innovation and doing things in a different way. So that's been really fascinating to me. But also, I've been involved in youth work for a long time, and kind of like grassrootsy kind of stuff. And that seems to be where all of the answers to all of life's most challenging things seem to be. So getting that formal education with that experience and being able to bridge and communicate between the two kind of spheres of practice has been what's moving me forward.
Now, do you focus on youth because you're young yourself, do you think?
I focused on youth, I think, because that's just what I knew, and that's what was my comfort zone for several years. In terms of the funding world and that kind of stratosphere, I'm aging out of. But,
you're not getting old, are you?
I'm not going to qualify for some funding opportunities pretty soon. But I'm really, really young people don't take no for an answer. And if there's something that they want to see happen in their community, they're just going to go for it. So now that I have kind of this privilege in terms of conventional,
like a status,
job
right?
title and stuff. I'm just gonna give it to them.
Just go. Just go for it. Now, if somebody needs your help, for instance, how can they go about making contact with you or the agency?
Well, so NORDIK Research Institute is based in Algoma University, which is a very good place for that kind of thing. So more often than not, I'm kind of wandering around campus. I have a desk, but I like to, kind of wander around. So a good way to find me is probably in person at Algoma University. And if you just give, NORDIK Research Institute a quick Google, you'll be able to find all staff and email and that kind of thing. And
now, do you connect a lot with people, who are on First Nations, maybe like, around James Bay and stuff like that? Do you think that the word is out there well enough?
Well, Urban Indigenous Youth for Change is primarily focused in Sault Ste. Marie, but there are partners who are engaged in like the more northern areas. So I would say that's not primarily a focus of us, but definitely if there was young people who wanted to get connected in some way, we'd be able to
at least direct them,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Tell them how to do it and where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do you feel like youth are getting left behind? Our government agencies, is there not enough money for people who might have an awesome idea, might have some really superior talent, but has no idea how to get to it?
Yep. That's definitely a huge barrier, because unfortunately, even in this sphere, in the nonprofit world, there are still barriers, still kind of hurdles that people have to jump through, especially when you're looking for, funding, which is the long and short of community work.
Absolutely.
So especially when you're trying to navigate that kind of thing, it can be really overwhelming and really difficult for young people to connect into, but that's, again, part of our role. We can kind of weave that together with you and for you and create a bit of a plan to move
and it must feel reassuring too to just have someone like yourself know the ins a little bit more than I would, for instance.
Yeah, yeah.
If I were young, I mean.
I've been, given the great honor of some young people trusting me with some ideas to just kind of like push off the ground a bit. So yeah, that's been good even for me. It's such good learning.
That's awesome. Well, continued good work. Really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Algoma University, congrats, man. They are on it. They are doing such amazing things there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
They really
Algoma's
are.
great.
Good to meet you. Thanks so
Good to
much.
meet you. Thank you.
We'll take this break. We'll be right back.